Thanks for coming in, Brian. This whole thing kind of like blew up. I wasn't expecting things to happen the way they did. Bill Nye, your campaign manager, called me, and just so the people understand that, I reached out to you 2-3 weeks ago, wanted to do an interview with you, and it's like, oh no, he just wanted to run on your people that know you and stuff like that. But now, after I guess what we looked into, it kind of just all exploded. So I just recommended that people hear your side and people learn a little bit more about you. But thanks for being on.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy Father's Day to you.
Hey, yeah, happy Father's Day, all the fathers out there.
Yeah,
thank
right.
You,
back at you. I just want to clarify something. I don't want to run on people that know me. I want to run on my record. I have a record of accomplishment, and I have a record of merits that I'm also running on top of the people that know me.
So let's, I've known you for years. I think I was a friend of mine is good friends of you, is how I met you years ago. But you were a deputy at what age did you become a Niagara County Sheriff's deputy?
Just turned 22 years old.
Because some responses I see, and I've been asking people, what do you think about the sheriff race? And then one of the things they say is experience. Brian's not experienced, and I'm kind of, well, what do you find as experience? But so you graduated what year and what school? And
well, let me back up. I joined the sheriff's department as a cadet, and that was at the age of 17. I spent 3 years as a cadet at the sheriff's department. For those that don't know, cadet is they've since done away with their program, but they get young aspiring officers in. You get a uniform, you get identification, you work time in the jail, you work time in the communication center, and then you work time on road patrol. And subsequently, from there, that's good luck. That's a ladybug. Subsequently, from there, it gives your employers a potential bird's eye view of potential hires. You have these young men and women at the sheriff's department, who there was many in my day that went through that program, too many to mention. They were interested in law enforcement. So I spent 3 years as a cadet at the sheriff's department. I was subsequently hired on road patrol at the age of just turned 22, and I spent 22 years of my life employed at the sheriff's department.
So really early on, you got involved with the community.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're forgetting something else that I didn't know that you volunteered for.
I was also a volunteer fireman. I joined the Wenderville Fire Company at the age of 18. I spent 9 years in the Wenderville Fire Company. I spent 12 years in all active time in the Wrights Corners Fire Company because I moved out of the district. Currently an exempt member in Wrights Corners. In that time in the volunteer fire service, I was elected to both positions of lieutenant and captain, and serve respectfully in that capacity.
So you've really reached out there and done, and I think one time you hurt yourself because you really went after somebody stealing something. I think it was an ATV or something. You jumped on somebody, or what was it?
I don't recall.
But you really take pride in your job and what you do. It's.
I love the job. I love law enforcement. There's no better job going. It's not for everybody. It isn't in everybody's DNA, but it's in mine. It's been in mine my whole life. We can get into that after leaving the sheriff's department and retiring after 22 years and going back to police service to serve the community.
So you actually run your own business on top of that too.
Yes,
sir.
Right.
So it's you're not the type of guy to sit around. You stay active, and well, how are you going to have time to be a sheriff if you get elected here? Brian?
I have people for the business. That's all in order here, and I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't gamble. All I do is work. Love being involved in the community, and you alluded to when you and I met, and you're a car guy. I'm a car guy.
Yeah.
I love cars. We both work on cars. I've worked in cars since a young age. That's how you and I have become acquainted, through another mutual friend.
Yeah. How many tires have you bought? Quite a few.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But yeah, I just find it interesting, and this isn't your first run. I really helped other candidates run. I'm more of I'm against the status quo. I have a guy that believe in new people, not the ones that they kind of choose and pick for that position. And I think way back when, I think the first one I started supporting was Rick Podgers when he ran, and I think you reported helped Rick too at the time.
I did.
Didn't you?
I did. Yes, sir, I did.
Then what year was that, you think? And then you ran. This is the second time you run for sheriff, or third? What?
No, I only actually ran for sheriff once.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I actually ran against Tom Beeline.
Okay. Right.
He was a 12-year incumbent when I challenged him for the sheriff's seat, and that would have been in 2005, I believe, was that campaign. And when Tom Beeline left his seat early to take a position in Albany, I was interested in running for the seat again. I was squeezed out of that for political reasons. I couldn't even get my name on the ballot. They orchestrated that back then, and that kind of upset me. So I didn't actually run. This isn't my third run. It's my second actual run being on the ballot.
But you saw the politics start come into play when you had interest in it, and you saw the games, and you saw because you've been involved with the community for years. You believe in helping the community, so you thought, hey, what better way to get out there and really try and help is to get elected in this position to make things better for the community. I mean, I think the same way a lot of times, but what are the major issues out there? What do you foresee?
I'm not a desk guy. Never have been a desk guy. I'm a people person. I like the community. I love the petition process this time around as well as last time. I knocked on plenty of doors myself, talked to people, being involved. I'm that kind of guy. I'm that kind of leader. I'm not a suit and tie kind of guy. I don't like a suit and tie. I'm an action kind of guy. I'm a man that stands up and likes to take control and likes to get involved. I wouldn't ask anybody to do anything, and my business included, that I have not done or I'm not willing to do myself. I think, Ed, with all this going on in the world right now, we need some leaders to stand up both for the people and the employees, particularly at the Sheriff's Department. They're not my men and women now, but when elected, they are going to be my men and women, and I am going to stand up for each and every one of them. It's a race. It's a political race, and it's a fight. And I'm a fighter, and I'm willing to fight for my people. I'm willing to fight for the community that I will be elected to serve.
Do you think there's a reason why certain people want to be selected to be sheriffs and district attorneys and judges? Do you think there's an overall
Absolutely.
reason for that?
It's about control. I've taken no politicians' money. I've taken no dirty money in our campaign. Our campaign is essentially funded by myself as a business owner. I'm spending my own money. I owe nobody anything. When you take large amounts of money, I know that there's one contribution on the other side that's $30,000 from a business person to the Republican side of the sheriff's race. How do you be unbiased, and how do you serve the people and be the people's candidate when you have all this onus of people who've donated thousands of dollars to your campaign? I'm not that guy. Yeah. I owe no one nothing. I said the same thing when I ran against Tom Beeline back in 2005. I want to hit the ground running. I have a team. Our team meets. I have people in place when elected that we're going to take over and hit the ground running. Everybody should be on an equal playing field. And I've talked about lunch with the sheriff. I think it's important. I talked about it long before all that's going on in the last few weeks here in our country. I think it's important to be embedded with the community and be involved. And lunch with the sheriff, for anybody that knows me, I love lunch. So my idea was, let's have lunch with the sheriff. We could scatter it out weekly, once maybe North Tonawanda, the following week Niagara Falls, the next week Lockport, and spread it out to the communities and have people come in and address their concerns and address their displeasure or pleasure, or just have something to come and have something to eat with us. I'm happy to pay for that at my own expense, but I think it's important to be involved with all the community and have them be brought into the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department is a department of the community, and it should be. It shouldn't be a closed door, or you got to go through 3 layers to get to your sheriff. When people elect you, they want to come talk to you. They don't want to talk to 3 or 4 people down the road. They want to talk to you, and I think that's important. So to find me when elected, I won't be in the office on a regular basis. I will be out and about. So you will see me. Others will see me. Another thing that I spoke about before is a marked car. I will drive a marked police car.
So the sheriffs now drive an unmarked car usually?
It historically has been how it's been at the Sheriff's Department. The upper administrative people all drive an unmarked car, and I think it's important to be in a marked car. I think it's important for people to know who you are, where you are, what you're doing.
It's the history of the sheriff to drive around.
Absolutely. I'm proud to be in a marked car. I'm still in a marked car to this day. I'm still serving the community. I love it.
So, Brian, what's your opinion on gun control? What could you do as a sheriff regards to gun control? Let's hear it.
I'm a pro-gun lawman. Always have been, David. Was taught at a young age the safe and effective use of a firearm. My father's a Navy veteran. My father was always into shooting and guns, so he taught me at a young age. I obtained my pistol permit at age 18, which is the minimum age to obtain a pistol permit, which I still carry today. I own several guns. I love to shoot. I'm not a hunter. I was when I was younger with my father, but I don't choose to hunt. I'm pro-gun. I've always been pro-gun. I'm not after taking anybody's gun rights or taking anybody's weapons away. The SAFE Act, I feel, was passed under the cover of darkness. It wasn't deliberated on both sides, and both sides were not given a fair shake. I don't agree with the SAFE Act and some of the things that it imposes. It has some things that, you know, are debatable, and some things that I believe are unfair. Our veterans have fought and died for our right to possess and keep a firearm, and I strongly believe in that, and that is my position. It always has been. So, you know, and I want to point out something else along we're talking about that, because it comes to mind. Somebody asked me the other day, hey, Brian, what inspires you? And, you know, I quickly fired back on what inspires me are military people like that who have fought for this country, who have flown an aircraft or a bomber and went overseas and fought for our freedoms here. And I think of the men and women on 9/11 that ran into the Twin Towers. I mean, they're running in. I get emotional because, you know, they're going in to try to save people while they're all running out. I mean, that's what inspires me. I mean, sorry I get emotional when I think about it, but that's, you know, that's what you do.
So do you believe we're here on this planet to help other people?
Well, I believe I am, and the good Lord has had me help plenty of other people, and I can give you examples of that. I've been blessed. Yeah. I don't want to go on too long, but I've been blessed in my life. I want for nothing, and I was taught at a young age by my grandmother, should you have the ability to help others, always help others, because it comes back to you. And a couple quick things that come to mind is there was a young man that I arrested years ago on the job at the Sheriff's Department for burglary. Show up at a burglary in progress, and as I show up, there's a young man running out of a building with a broken window. So I gave chase, ran after him, tackled him, put him in the patrol car, and he was just a likable kid that got mixed up in the wrong stuff. But you still have to go through the motions and all the rest, and come to find out he lived with his grandmother. His mother was a drug addict who didn't bother with him. Father, I don't even think he knew who his father was, but he was a nice young man. And you still have to do your job, but throughout patrol, after the fact, and seeing the young man, we developed a rapport. And I talked to his grandmother, which was who was raising the young man, and asked her about, you know, trying to help the young man, maybe take him under my wing, so to speak, and maybe give him some work at my business, because, you know, I'm a business guy. And his grandma thought it was the greatest thing going. So I took in this young man and gave him some work, gave him a sense of meaning, a sense of belonging, and he was eternally humbled. Even when I see him to this day, he's always, "Hi, Mr. Grear, how are you?" And I tell him, "It's Brian, it's not Mr. Grear," but he was humbled. And then another instance that comes to mind, that's what I'm about. And the other instance, I'm going to give you what my family's about. Where we live in a large home, and across the street from our home, one of the neighbors had a vehicle leave the road and smash into her house. And they condemned her house because it knocked the foundation in, and they said she could not, you know, live in the house until it was repaired. So my wife and I talked, and we had thought, well, she basically lives across the street. You know, do you want to take her in? You know, she was a single woman. You want to take her in? She can live with us. We have young daughters. We have an extra bedroom. She's more welcome to live with us. And my wife absolutely thought what I thought, so we took her in. The only point I'm trying to make is not only did we take her in, she runs a daycare at her house. So it didn't end up being a couple months. It ended up being a year that this lovely woman moved in with us and ran her daycare at our home. So for almost a year, every day, there's parents coming in, dropping off children, and I have 4 daughters, so more kids in the house. You know, I would get up, and it's always a house full of kids. I mean, I was humbled that I had the ability to help this woman in her time of need, because her children lived out of the area. One was in Tonawanda, the other was elsewhere. So, you know, it would kind of interfere with her daycare and others' lives. So we were happy to take her in and happy to do what we can do. That's what I'm about. That's what my wife's about. I believe in helping others. I believe in doing for others. And I'm in a position where I'm able to. I run a business. We give back to the veterans groups, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, Mercy Flight, just to name a few, the churches. I can give back because that's what we do and that's what we believe.
Wow, thanks for sharing that, Brian. I did some research on the sheriff, and the sheriff is like the chief administrator of the law in the county, legally defined as that. And I find it very interesting. I have an interview I did here yesterday with Sheriff Mack in Arizona. He has an organization called Constitutional Sheriff's Peace Officers Association. And he's telling me about a sheriff in another state that actually went and arrested public officials because of corruption. So I was like, wow. And this is what really, after seeing a lot of the corruption in Niagara County and understanding the sheriff has this authority, have you ever seen the sheriff arrest an elected official for corruption?
I think it's about accountability, and it's about equal application of the law. Now, if you're a politically connected person or you're somebody who has a lot of money, why should you be treated any differently than somebody who comes from lesser means? I think it's important to watch that bee there.
That's a bumblebee.
Okay.
Carpenter bee, sorry. Okay.
I think it's important to represent everybody equally. Now, this person, if they had donated $30,000 to a campaign, you think they expect special treatment? I mean, I'll let the public decide on that for themselves. But I think in not taking any money from people to that nature, everybody's treated fairly. And it's important. It's important on the door-to-door that I went to during the petition process. It's important being involved in the community. People are upset when others are treated differently. So I think that's important. As the sheriff, it's your responsibility to treat everybody equally. Doesn't matter from what walk of life you come to. And I know I keep alluding to that petition process, but during that, I got from many people in some of the communities in the inner cities that we give you, their quote to me is, we give you mad credit for coming to our neighborhood and looking for our support. I explained to them, your neighborhood is no different than any other neighborhood in this county. It's Niagara County. The sheriff represents all of you. So should you need me, I'm your guy.
So would you be, open, if somebody has an issue with what they feel is a bad state law or a federal law, would you reach out to them, talk to them about it, and try and look into the case and see if there's any way you can help?
Your job as a sheriff or law enforcement is conflict resolution, is a lot of what you do. So if somebody has an issue, whatever their issue is, of course you're going to look into it. That's what they elect you to do. That's what you get paid to do. That's what they expect of you to do. And when I say open door policy, I mean just that. You can walk in and see myself, or I will come see you more than likely than you walking in, but I will be available to the community. I think it's important.
I think I forgot to talk about one thing, your family. You came here on Father's Day, and you're going to have how many home waiting for you there?
Yes, sir. I have 4 young daughters at home and a wife.
4 daughters.
4 daughters, yes, sir.
See, a man that has 4 daughters is a unique individual.
Well, and I would take 4 more. That's as honest as I can be. I don't go on and on talking about my children because it bores people. But yes, it is Father's Day, but you invited me to come out and speak on some issues, so I'm happy to do so and answer any questions for the community and the public that potentially will elect me sheriff.
Excellent. This is gonna be the first part of the video. We're gonna hit on the controversy that hit up on Channel 4 and then the Facebook page I made here. So tune in for the other video. This one is mostly about Brian, what he's about as a human being, what he's trying to do. But thanks for...
and can I add in one other thing? Speaking about the family, some have asked via social media, well, why did you leave the sheriff's department? I had 4 young daughters at home, with a wife raising 4 young daughters. I was a businessman, still have an active growing business. So having a young family growing up, having a growing business, and having duties at the sheriff's office, I particularly worked afternoon shift because that fit into my schedule. So after 22 years of service, it's a 20-year and out retirement that you can retire.
22 years you ran?
I spent 22 years there, so I decided...
Wow, we're old.
Speak for yourself. I'm not old. I don't feel old. So, in lieu of that, in talking to my wife, we decided it was time to retire from the sheriff's office and, raise a family because my daughters are very young and continue to run the business as I do today. And then we can get into at a later point going back into public service at the Lewiston Police Department.
But how many years after did you get into Lewiston?
I was retired approximately 4 years from the sheriff's office.
So 4 years, you really got to spend a lot of time with your daughters at a key part of their life growing up.
And I didn't want to miss that.
So that's really, and a lot of deputies retire after 20 years.
They do,
right? So it's kind of...
I missed it. I missed the people. I missed being involved in the community. I like being out and about. I like being involved in things. And at the invitation of Chief Frank Previtt for Lewiston, he offered me a position to come work for him part-time, and I was thrilled. I love it in Lewiston.
Do you think if you're elected sheriff that the deputies might want to stick around a little longer instead of retiring after 20 years?
I would certainly hope that they would, because one of the things that comes to my mind is you have a lot of good seasoned officers that I would like to stay because they have a lot to share with the younger officers coming up. So people with that experience, I've talked to many of them, of course, on the QT, and express, should I be elected sheriff, I hope you do stay, so I can change some things around.
Yeah,
but there's no match for a seasoned officer with seasoned people skills, and people skills are very important in that job. That job is all about people skills, talking people up, talking people down, talking to people. I like people.
Well, back to this race too.
I'm sorry.
No, totally fine. You're the total underdog. You were not supported by any political machine. They never helped you carry your petitions. You had to do everything yourself. Where your opposing candidate, basically the status quo parties, did everything for him. They want him there. You did everything yourself, right?
Well, they say, "I'm glad you asked." Well, let me explain. I am the Democratic candidate for sheriff, and the minor party lines, which are important in an election cycle, as anybody in politics knows, the only minor party line that did a fair and complete process was the Work and Families Party. They sent you a 100-plus page questionnaire that you have to fill out. Once that's filled out and completed and received, they schedule you for an oral board interview. And you go in for an interview in front of a board of 6 people, and you answer all your questions, and you present what you're about, you present your history, your work record, and all the rest. And my opponent had to go through that same process as well. At the end of that fair process, they selected me as their candidate, which I am eternally humbled that they did. The other minor party lines, one, in fact, endorsed in December of last year. How do you endorse? You're not even into the year of election cycle.
So you didn't even know they were going through the endorsement process, I would imagine, right? Or did you know?
Lack thereof. There was no endorsement process.
They just rubber stamp.
You got it.
Yeah,
the only fair one was the Work and Families, and it was very fair, and I'm very humbled to earn that moniker with the Work and Families.
Interesting. Okay, we're going to carry on another video. Stay tuned. You might want to go to the next video, check it out. But thanks.
Yes,
Brian,
sir. Thank you.
And,
thanks for having me.
Next video. All right.